Good morning, everyone. I know that people are still eating, and we're starting a few minutes early, but there seems to be a consensus that to start early, oh, it's afternoon, to start early is better. So if people want to get sort of their last-minute things, we'll get started, and maybe we can get out and enjoy the snow. It looks like it's turning a little brighter. My name is Evelyn Mazak, and I'm the moderator of Hope. And I am really pleased to be here to go through the agenda on the annual meeting today. I just want to tell you we had a wonderful annual meeting at Hope, very positive, and I understand that that was the same with Advent. And thank you all for sticking around for this annual meeting. So Scott is taking notes, and okay. And so I will officially call the meeting to order and ask for an opening prayer. Is that Nick or Jen?
Of course, I took a bite of food right at the wrong time. So I'd like our prayer to be read as in the form of a poem called Blessing of Your Work by John O'Donohue. He's a favorite poet of mine, and he does these wonderful blessings that I think applies to the work that we're doing today. May the light of your soul guide you. May the light of your soul bless the work you do with the secret love and warmth of your heart. May you see in what you do the beauty of your own soul. May the sacredness of your work bring healing, light, and renewal to those who work with you and to those who see and receive your work. May your work never weary you. May it release within you well springs of refreshment, inspiration, and excitement. May you be present in what you do. May you never become lost in the bland absences. May the day never burden you. May dawn find you awake and alert, approaching your new day with dreams, possibilities, and promises. May your evening find you gracious and fulfilled. May you go into the night blessed, sheltered, and protected. May your soul calm, console, and renew you. May God bless our meeting today. Amen.
I'm struggling with a little bit of a cold that I got from my grandson, so you'll have to bear with me. Thank you for that, Jen. The next thing on the agenda would be the approval of this 2023 annual meeting agenda. So I would entertain a motion for approval of this agenda. Do I have one? Okay, Lucetta, thank you. I'll give people a minute to get those. Okay, do I have a second for a motion for approval of the agenda? Thank you, Peter. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the next thing is the approval of the January 30th, 2020 annual MCC meeting minutes. Do I have a motion for approval of those minutes? Any discussion? How about a second? All those in favor of approving the annual meeting minutes from last year signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. I want to take a minute, agenda item number 5, to acknowledge the leadership team. This has been a really pivotal and transitional year, as you know, for HOPE and also for MCC. And the leadership team, as well as the RAR, the Road Ahead Review Committee, have worked really hard this year. And so I just want to make sure that people know who's on the team. So as I call your name, if you could stand up. Scott Bauer, myself, Evelyn, Shara Cannon, Corky Custer, Raylene Freitag, Julie James, Ed Helmer, Faith Lerner is not here today, Carrie McGinley, Peter Selwood, Mike Reese, I don't believe is here today either, Steve Selwood, Beth Inglis Simmons, Ann Ward, and Vicki Warren. Thank you all very much for all your work on the leadership team. And those ending their service are some of the people who stood, Carrie McGinley, Mike Reese, Faith Lerner, and Peter and Steve Selwood. So thank you for all the work that you've done. There are also new members that are going to be joining the leadership team from HOPE. That's Tom Matthews and Sandy Estrell, and Sandy has agreed to be co-moderator with me. And from Advent, it's Rob Olson and Rebecca Weesey. So thank you. Excuse me? And Sulia Miller. Okay, Sulia Miller, I'm sorry. Before we get into item number 7, I wanted to take some time to thank some particular people. Sarah, if you want to come up. The executive team has met quite often this year and in between all of the other meetings and really worked together wonderfully. And a lot of that has to do with Raylene Freitag being on the team and being very organized and keeping us on track. So Raylene, if you want to come up, we do have something little for you. You might have gotten my grandson's cold.
I got my granddaughter's cold.
Oh, your granddaughter. We're in good company.
Yeah. Raylene might not want to come too close. Thank you.
Yeah, you might not want to come too close. But stay here a minute. We also want to acknowledge Lynn Breedlove, if he could come up for his work. Raylene and Lynn are both co-chairs, I guess, of the RAR and have spent a lot of time this year just doing amazing things. So thank you very much for all of your work and all the members of the RAR team as well. We really appreciate it. Thank you. So I'm just going to move quickly for the acceptance of the MCC reports as posted in the electronic version, because we will get to the financial spending, et cetera, on item 8. So I guess what I'm going to ask is for item 7, that we accept these reports, and if people who have filed reports or have information want to make a statement, this would be time. Under G, in terms of MCC Community Ministries, Roger Williams did say that he wanted to speak about the Harvest of Hope for a minute. So I would ask the acceptance of the MCC reports, and I'd ask for any discussion about those. Then I'd ask Roger to come up and speak about the Harvest of Hope under the ministries.
Thank you much. The closing hymn in our congregation today was "Draw the Circle Wide, Draw It Wider Still." And what I would say is that's what represents the Harvest of Hope Fund. For the last 37 years, the Harvest of Hope has provided hope to Wisconsin farm families throughout the state of Wisconsin. Milwaukee, I would like to say Milwaukee's the only county that hasn't been covered, but it has. There have been farmers in Milwaukee County that have received funding from the Harvest of Hope Fund. It's a fund that helps farm families get through difficult times. And we've given out over 1,760 gifts over our 37-year period of time, totaling over $1,247,000. It's been an amazing ministry. And many of you have been part of that by contributing to it or by being on the Harvest of Hope Committee or supporting us in other ways. And I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you who've been a part of that. We're not closing it down, but it's reaching a point where things are a little bit uncertain. And we're going to be taking it 1 year at a time is really what it amounts to. Two things going on. Number one, we have a very strong bank balance at this point in time. And in fact, so strong that we're going to be asking our donors not to contribute in 2023. You don't hear that from many groups, but we will be asking you to not do that in 2023. In fact, I'll be sending letters to people who have given at least $100 during the past year. That's an unusual situation that we're in, and we're in that situation because of groups like EPIC that have given a fair amount of money. I don't have the dollar signs in front of me right now, over the last 10 years or so. We've also had an amazing anonymous donor in the city of Milwaukee that has given a tremendous amount of money, and so we're in good shape. Remember the years where we were holding concerts and auctions to raise money for the Harvest of Hope? We haven't done that in several years, and it's because of groups like EPIC and this anonymous donor in Milwaukee. So that's one thing I wanted to share with you. The other thing is the pool of farm families that might benefit from the Harvest of Hope is shrinking. If any of you read the report on Harvest of Hope in the annual meetings, there were 171,000 dairy farms in the state of Wisconsin in 1920. That shrunk to about 30,000 in the year that we started the Harvest of Hope Fund, which was 1986. It's down to about 6,000 now. So it's gone from 30,000 to 6,000 in the time Harvest of Hope has existed. We're envisioning a time when it may not exist. We're not sure if that's 2 years from now, 3 years from now, whatever. But increasingly, farms in the state of Wisconsin are getting bigger and bigger. And multi-million-dollar farms are not the audience that was intended by the Harvest of Hope Fund when we started it. And so we envision a time where the Harvest of Hope may no longer exist, and we're taking it 1 year at a time. So the essential messages are, thank you, thank you, thank you for all of your support through the years. Don't give to us in 2023. And finally, there may come a time when the Harvest of Hope doesn't exist. And maybe we want to think about alternative ministries to that, because I think it's been an amazing ministry to farm families in the state of Wisconsin. So again, thank you.
Thank you for all your work on that, Roger. It's just amazing. Any other comments or people that want to speak about the various reports and ministries? Okay, if not, I would move for a second with acceptance of the reports on the MCC reports. Okay, okay, thank you, Lindy. All right, all those in favor of accepting the MCC reports in the annual report signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, next we will move on to the financial reports, the MCC spending plan and funds, and I know that John isn't here. You were going to do that. Okay, thank you.
Hello, I am Ed Helmer. I am on the finance team. I am not John Rao. I have some enormous shoes to fill, providing you some information about the financial picture of the MCC. So for 2022, it was a good year. The pledges were met by both congregations, and overall, there was about a $4,000 deficit in terms of expenses higher than income, which was covered by MCC reserves. So on a scale of a budget that we have is in the 500,000, that's less than 1%, so that's pretty close to a zero balance. The stewardship campaign that Corky Custer, I worked on, the pastors, and some other people as well, tried to highlight in 2023, it was important for us to maintain the levels of spending that we've been accustomed to at the MCC, to increase our giving by around 6%. And I have to say, we were not all that optimistic that we're going to be able to come through with that. But amazingly, Advent came through with a 6% increase in giving, and Hope came through with a 7% increase in giving. So that was really beyond what we expected, but we're very, very pleasantly surprised by that. And for 2023, you'll see here in the first part of the spending plan for mission that we have around a $9,000 deficit between expenses higher than income. But we plan to cover that with reserves that the MCC has. So I'll take you back a couple years. So with COVID, you may remember that the government created the Paycheck Protection Program system. The MCC applied for a loan for around $81,000, was given it. We met the conditions that we needed to meet for that, applied for forgiveness. The loan was forgiven, so that $81,000 went to the MCC reserves. So that gave us a little bit more cushion than we normally have, and our reserves are generally pretty good anyway. So in the shorter term, we have a little bit less to worry about the $4,000 in 2022 or the $9,000 in 2023. That could be thought of as drawing down that $81,000 that we received from the PPP loans. Longer term, just like many churches around the country, we have some challenges with demographics where we're aging, fewer young families. And so longer term, I think, we do have some things that we should be thinking about. And the giving that we've provided, the reserves that we have as the MCC really gives us a little bit of cushion and a little bit of time to figure some things out and not have to make a snap decision, in the fall about something happening that next coming year. So for 2023, the finance team, as well as really the whole MCC, it's a year, we've called it a year of discernment, where we want to really think about, longer term. I mean, obviously we don't want to have these structural deficits going on for many years at a time. We can't really sustain that. So, obviously there's two sides of it. You could increase income, whether that's, growing the sizes of the MCC, individual people giving more, increases in income, with maybe we, add a third congregation into our building, something like that. Or you look at expenses, right? So overall, the MCC budget is very lean. There's very little things that could be trimmed without affecting staff. Obviously we have a lot of fixed costs with the mortgage and gas and water, electricity, things like that, that are essentially non-negotiable. We're not going to decide to not heat our building or not pay for water. And so it really doesn't take long before you start to look at the personnel and the staff side. So whether that means, fewer positions or fewer hours for the existing positions we have, I think that's something that we long-term need to think about. So really this gives us an opportunity to think about it and reflect and not make a snap decision, so that we can have a good plan, a sustainable plan long-term for the MCC. So I would invite anybody, if they have questions about the spending plan, I can attempt to answer them, or I may call on some of our other people in the finance group who are here. Thank you. If you do have questions, you can contact anybody on the finance team. So Corky Custer, myself, John Rao, Ken Johnson, Linda Pills, yep, Beth Campbell. Sue, yes, Sue. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Ed, and thank you to the whole finance team for all the work that you always do in helping us through these times. Personally, I just get nervous with stewardship and what's going to happen, and it always seems to work out. So thank you, everybody, but also thank you, the finance team. So I would ask for a motion for the approval of the proposed 2023 spending plan. Corky Custer. And I assume no questions because I couldn't answer them. I'd have to bring Ed back up here. So a second? All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay. Well, thank you very much. In terms of other business, I'm going to ask Raylene to come up and talk about the road ahead review, what they envision for next year and how that affects all of us. But before I forget, I want to thank Christy Williams, too, for organizing the lunch and everybody that brought food. I appreciate that so much.
Thanks, Evelyn. And to start, I want to be sure to thank everyone who worked on the committee. Co-chair Lynn Breedlove has become my favorite friend these days because we've spent a lot of time on, boy, Zoom we got our money's worth out of Zoom this year. And other members from HOPE were Lois Comey and Wendy Stewart, I don't see. And from Advent, our other members were Ann Ward, who's here somewhere. Oh, there we go. And Sarah Cannon, who's also, there we go. And Dan Straight, who's a member of both congregations, so that worked out pretty well. Nick was involved from the beginning, and Pastor Jen joined us as soon as she came on board and jumped right in. This group of folks was just such an incredible pleasure to work with. We didn't know, when we were first given the charge, we were asked to meet 3 times and come up with the answers. We quickly learned that it was going to take a little bit more of that. And so this group really put in a lot of time, including an all-day workshop in the fall. And you're all about to get some answers out of this process. I also want to thank all of you, because we asked you to do 2 separate surveys. Many of you were asked to also sit in on some interviews. And so this whole process couldn't have happened without everyone in MCC coming together and putting our minds together, putting our hearts together, and seeing where we land. Now it's been a year since our first meeting. I think our first meeting was the beginning of February last year, so we're coming up on just a year. And tomorrow, you're all going to get an email, and in that email is going to be a link to the report. What you're going to get is an abridged report. It's already 14 pages, so you might wonder, what are we abridging from? The full report was something like 50 pages. We learned so much. It was hard to, condense it. So what you'll get is summaries of each of the main study areas that we did and summaries of the recommendations. Next Sunday, after worship, we'll do a presentation. Lynn and I will be doing a presentation. We think we're going to do it over in the Community of Hope because we'll be doing a PowerPoint thing, and so it seems best that way. So we'll do our best to walk you through the report, but you'll have a chance to read it between now and next Sunday. So we'll highlight things, but you'll also have a chance to have some questions. And then the following Sunday, adult education is set aside just for any questions or conversations that you want to have about the Road Ahead Review. There is that longer report, which we will make available to anybody who really wants to read the whole thing. And what I will tell you is that it's unedited. Very, very sadly, we were just finishing it, and Deborah Green had agreed to edit it for us. And sadly, she passed before she was able to do that. So if there's anybody who's an editor out there, there's spelling mistakes and things. So it would be much nicer if it got edited well. So I'll do my best if there's not a real editor out there, but we'll make that available to you as well. I just want to give you a couple of bottom lines as kind of teasers for next week. I will say that I walked into this process a year ago pretty ignorant about how things were, even taking completely for granted that we were in an ecumenical partnership. I just came to church on Sunday, somebody else came to church over there, and yeah, we met once a year. Didn't really understand the beauty of the vision of folks 50 years ago to start this place, and the potential that it has 50 years going forward to be a witness for one in Christ, to be a place where we can do God's will, a place where God is working within each one of us. So I learned that through the course of doing this, and I also started to learn that things weren't as easy as one might expect that they would be, and that it's very difficult to keep up a church, let alone 2 churches in an ecumenical partnership. There's no book that tells you how to do that because it's so rare. And so it's both a challenge and an opportunity for us. But when we started putting out the feelers of, so what do you all think? What does this ecumenical partnership mean? We had no idea what was going to come in. In fact, we decided that we better ask just 3 questions first Because if it turned out that people aren't really all that interested in an ecumenical partnership, then why do a big survey, right, to figure out how to do it? Well, we were so blown away by the response from that first mini-survey that we did last about March, I think it was. The passion that so many of you expressed in how valuable this place is to you really made us commit to really doing an in-depth study of what's worked till now that we can keep doing, and how we need to adjust, going forward. So I can speak only for myself, and I'll certainly let anyone else from the Road Ahead Review team speak up as well. But it just filled me with hope, and it made my relationship to this place just so much deeper, just through hearing things in the first survey and then the second survey and working with these great folks. So I can tell you that there's an awful lot of good news that you'll be finding in the Road Ahead Review. And we also have our eyes open that there are challenges that we need to address, and we have some ideas for how to go forward with that. So watch your email tomorrow, and we'll see you all again next Sunday after church, and we'll talk more about it.
Okay, I guess we officially have to ask for adjournment, and then we'll ask for the closing prayer. So, motion to adjourn. Hildy, is that right? Second by Sandy. All those in favor? Aye? Aye. Okay, thank you very much. And Nick for our closing prayer.
Just before prayer, thank you to everybody whose voices you heard during this meeting. Just thank you, extending all over the place. As Lynn was walking forward and getting thanks for being a co-chair for Road Ahead Review, it was also occurring to me that he's co-chair with Ann for the Regathering Task Force. He's a co-chair for the Personnel Committee. So there's a Lynn Breedlove kind of involvement, and all of you around the room. You have the things that you do, your connections here, your faith here, your participation in this meeting. Some of you have been here for more than 4 hours this morning and afternoon. So thank you for all of those ways that you're integral to this community. And I also want to say thank you to your staff, to our staff, a tremendously dedicated group of people, and through some transitions this year, jumping in, figuring things out, just really grateful for staff and grateful to have Jen here with us now too. Thank you, Jen. Yeah. Here's a couple of stanzas of a hymn from the NCH that I stumbled on that feel good to me for this moment. Let's pray. They did not build in vain who founded here a church as witnesses to God's love amid a world of pain. They built upon the rock that is the risen Christ, the one foundation laid that stands each earthly shock. Those who have loved this place, a cloud of witnesses, surround us and urge us on as now we run our race. Though the horizon's bend conceals the way ahead, the footprints on the road show Christ waits at the end. Amen.